Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, judges, teachers, and the students. We welcome all to the second segment. We shall have Apurva Gupta, first from the Shakespeare House.
Am I audible?
Yes.
I slept in a place surrounded by blanket of air, untouched, undisturbed, with significance of each layer. I could dream under the diamond night and work under the yellow light. But one fine day came the devil, whose greed list would never fill. What he called development and construction was actually a path leading to destruction. No one spoke when he was born, and the destruction went on and on. And today, when the apocalypse is at the top, everyone's throat is chucked and sore. How dare you, hashtags rising high, when everyone is about to die. Good morning, everyone. Today, I, Apurva Gupta, will express my views on climate change, the biggest threat to mankind. The world is growing in terms of economy, infrastructure, and technology. But it's degrading when we talk about nature. Our humanity is crumpling under the falling trees. Our kindness is drowning in the rising levels of the ocean. And our compassion towards nature is depleting with the ozone layer. Look around. The sky is covered with colors of agony, disparity, and hopelessness. The consequence of these ruthless activities is climate change, environmental imbalance, extreme weather events, and a bunch of similar problems, creating long term changes over the entire planet. Do justice while describing climate change. The rays of the sun, which were once like the golden glitter, have now taken a form of fireballs, which are a plethora of danger and destruction, abolishing lush green forests and organisms residing there. The crystals of water from the sky, which were once soothing, are now destroying
Oh.
Reputation. Humans are always bragging about their numerous cars, their usage of the most expensive deodorants, and uncountable air conditioners installed in their bungalows. How can we forget the Australian bushfires or the burning of California, which has caused an ecological imbalance all around the globe? Yes, the air around us is filthy rich in carbon dioxide, sulfur oxide, and other lethal gases. Development is a consequence of destruction of the nature. Climate change is a global issue and a state of affairs to ponder upon. It is not like a social media post which can be disliked or ignored if it is hideous and unpleasant. Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement are some legal instruments to combat climate change. However, they are of no significance until or unless each one of us imbibes the values of responsibility and magnanimity towards our planet Earth. The major threat to our planet is the belief that others will protect it. He will do it is not acceptable. We have to do it and become an ocean of change in a single drop. I might not have the potential to do wonders in a day, but I have the ability to heal the bruises of my planet, to restore its green color, and to protect the verdure and fauna from the cruelty of humans because no challenge poses a greater threat to the future generations than climate change. Thank you.
As Anvi faced certain connectivity issues earlier, we now have Anvi Chauhan representing Mary Ward House.
Trees are our lungs, rivers our circulation, air our breath, and earth our body. Warm greetings to the Honorable Principal, respected judges, teachers, and my dear friends. Today I, Anvi Chauhan, a student of class 9 Tulip, is going to squeeze out my own views on the topic Nature Speaks in a Hushed Tone. Listen before it's too late. Nature is the best friend of all living beings since the beginning of this universe. Also, the fact is that change is the law of nature. Everything in nature changes and finally dies. There was a time when man was uncivilized and lived in forests like savages. He didn't know agriculture. But now he has become civilized and stepped on moon. This is nothing but change. Society also must change and constantly adapt itself to changing circumstances. However, today's modern world has given it a certain name. Can you guess it? Yes, it's development. Development means growth, progress, or a positive change, as many would say the same. It is in most cases aimed at improving the global economy and the way of our living. However, it can affect our natural and social way in many numerous ways. I know you must be thinking, how's that possible? It's mainly due to improper use of resources for development and improper growth practices. This, dear friends, is known as unsustainable development, which will ultimately degrade our environment and the human health. It gives birth to many problems. I hope the first thing that comes to your mind, thinking about the problems caused due to it, must be pollution, right? Yes, it leads to air and water pollution as industrialization and urbanization release enormous amount of toxic gases and particulate pollutants. Also, runoff from streets, houses, agricultural fields contain toxins as well as nutrients which could pollute water and lead to the depletion of the dissolved oxygen. So here's a big example. Many areas of our metropolitan cities. So let's take Delhi. The air quality in Delhi is the worst of any major city in the world. The Delhi air pollution in India is estimated to kill 2 million people every year. Can you even imagine? Secondly, is soil pollution, as green revolution has greatly enabled use of pesticides in many agricultural activities that could degrade the soil fertility. Many studies have already revealed that this impact has already surfaced in the areas of Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh. Global warming and climate change is another serious problem due to release of enormous amount of greenhouse gases from these development activities. Loss of forest cover is yet another problem, which leads to loss of biodiversity. By removing forests, we are removing the natural source of oxygen, water, fertile topsoil, and the living space of plants, animals, and living organisms. From the above points, I hope we are well aware of our brutality towards nature. So here's a small reminder for all of us. When nature has tried to convey in hushed tones, that is in the form of tsunamis in Japan and in the coastal areas of Indian subcontinent. Thousands and thousands of people lost their life, their properties. And how can we forget the massive cloudburst at Kedarnath, which was just a mild side of the destructive side of nature? Dear friends, we still have a little time to improve our action. We need to live in harmony with nature and learn to preserve its natural beauty. And most importantly, listen to its hushed tones before it's too late. Thank you.
Coming up next from class 10th is Ridhima Aluwalia, who shall represent Tagore House.
Climate change is the single greatest threat to a sustainable future. But at the same time, addressing the climate challenge presents a golden opportunity to promote prosperity and a brighter future for all. Good morning to one and all present here. Today, I, Ridhima Aluwalia, am going to speak on the topic Climate change is the biggest threat to mankind. Let's call it climate threat instead of climate change. Perhaps it helps to burn more people in the attempt to avert the deterioration of our climate. It sounds more serious than mere climate change, which is the phrase used in most headline in media. We are on a threshold of a frightening new era. Never before has humankind's abuse of environment put the whole planet in danger. Mother Earth's crying, but all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. When politics solutions are needed, they are nowhere in sight. Our leaders need to start act accordingly because at the moment they are not. We are at the verge of extinction. As far as climate change is considered, it has become the very greatest threat to our planet and everyone on it, besides all out war with modern weapons of mass destruction. According to me, it is not an investment if it is destroying the planet. The greenhouse gases that cause climate change have a delayed effect, like a disease with a long incubation period. This means we do not know what damage we've already done, but we do know if we don't act now, the effects will be many times more devastating still. Statistics have shown that the damage has been done mainly by the rich nations, but the poorest will suffer the most. And worst, most immediately. Though I think a nation will not survive morally or economically when so few have so much and so many have so little, because everyone is threatened in the long run. People are dying from climate change now, though it's not obvious since it's happening through a steady and unrelenting increase in the frequency and severity of the kind of natural disasters that we are used to. Still, you say you can understand the urgency, but no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understand the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil. And I refuse to believe that. In the words of Lester Brown, we have not inherited this earth from our forefathers. We have borrowed this earth from our children. What if the environment were a bank? It would have been saved by now. Because without a healthy planet, there isn't a healthy anything. At the end, I would also like to conclude. This is not a partisan debate, but a human one. Clean air and water and a livable climate are inalienable human rights. In solving this crisis is not a question of politics, but it is our moral obligation. Thank you.
Next, we have Yeva Gupta of 10th Tulip representing Shakespeare House.
How is it possible that the most intellectual creature to ever walk the planet Earth is destroying its only home? Let me answer that. The Earth is 4.6 billion years old. Let's scale that to 46 years, which means that we have been here for 4 hours, and our industrial revolution began 1 minute ago. In that time, we have destroyed more than 50% of the world's forests. A very good morning, respected sister, honorable judges, teachers, and my worthy opponents. Today, I, Yeva Gupta, am here to speak about the dire consequences faced by nature because of the barbaric forces of mankind. Nature speaks in hushed tones. Listen before it is too late. Nature is the canvas embellished by the supreme force. It is the touch of the swift winter breeze, the rustling of the autumn leaves, the slightest touch of motherhood, from a tiny seed to a tall ancestral tree, from an infant to a grown adult. But today, our Mother Nature is outraged, terrified, and impatient. It is unable to bear its destruction, the incessant rate of deforestation, the havoc climate change has caused, melting of polar ice caps, loss of biodiversity, and the choking pollution. Science does not lie. According to reports from the UN Environment Programme, humanity has altered more than 75% of the Earth's ice-free surface. And the illegal wildlife trade is the 4th largest illegal trade in the world. Nobody has spared the environment this year as well. I can list some of the most devastating environmental disasters of 2020 from across the world. Number 1, the Australian bushfires that engulfed the country from the end of 2019 to the beginning of 2020. According to several reports, 1 billion animals were killed and many endangered species in the country were driven to extinction and decaying. that a changing climate contributes to this ferocity. Number 2, Cyclone Amphan was a tropical cyclone that hit the states of West Bengal, Odisha, and even Bangladesh in May 2020, which had a direct effect on more than 70% of the state's population. This had been caused due to the high sea temperatures of the Bay of Bengal. Number 3, COVID-19, the prevailing pandemic, which was transmitted from animals to humans, is a direct warning that nature can take no more. We are facing it in large part because of humanity's unwanted expansion into wild spaces. It may be one of the worst, but it is not the first. Of course, actions have been taken, policies have been formulated in many parts of the world, ranging from the UN Environmental Managing System, the ban of plastic in 127 countries, to the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. But I would like to ask you, is this enough? No, it isn't. The threat to nature is more serious. It is more devastating, and it is growing. Greta Thunberg, a Swedish activist, says, I don't want you to be hopeful. I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. I want you to act as you would in a crisis. I want you to act as if your house is on fire, because it is. In the end, I would just say that our generation's response to this challenge will be judged by history. For if we fail boldly, swiftly, and together, we risk consigning future generations to an irreversible catastrophe. Thank you.
Now we have Saiful Gamba, who will represent Nehru House.
I felt my lungs inflate with an onrush of scenery, the trees, air, mountain, people. I thought this is what it is to be truly happy. Now, imagine yourself in a green field. The cool breeze blows past you, soothing your soul. The fresh air all around you with a tinge of lavender sweetness. Your body deeply inhales on this positivity. It was once rightly said by Aristotle, a Greek philosopher, that in all things of nature there is something marvelous. Yes, indeed. But let me remind you that this exactly is not the time when you acknowledge how marvelous nature can be. A very good morning to everybody. My name is Saiful Gyamba, and today I would be representing Nehru House and hereby speaking on the topic coronavirus, stay in versus go out. COVID-19 originated from Wuhan, a small province in China. Initially represented as a severe respiratory illness with gradual dramatical complications, it suddenly turned itself into a hydra-headed monster that started engulfing the largest of nations globally. COVID-19 is indeed a huge stressor which shakes up our psyche, triggers our fears and uncertainties, and hence a mere suggestion would be to stay home. For all that waits outside for you is death, misery, and murder. Murder as in a very strong word. And yes, you did hear me right. Murder of your little conscience, which reminded you of staying obliged to the governmental laws, to your societal duties and moralities. Murder of hopes and aspirations of a better and a safer tomorrow. Now is the time when you start reminiscing, working on yourself, strengthening your bonds, and enhancing your talents. So why? Why would you want to add to the death toll rate of 1.15 million people? Why would you choose the ghastly illness over temporary happiness which would not even last you for 5 minutes? Why would you put the life of all doctors and policemen on stake? Why would you want your families to suffer? Why would you not wear a mask? Why would you agree to step out? Why? Isn't your life precious? With the already registered 48 million coronavirus cases, the recovery rate is good, rather impressive. But is it worth the risk? I wish we could to follow in Vladimir Putin's step and release 800 lions and tigers all across the nation to devour on any such man. who does not value his life. But sadly, neither does India have 800 lions, nor such a brave government. Today, we all are facing challenging times of a global pandemic. Hunger, poverty, downfall of economy are not new concepts to us. Now is the time when you wake up, you analyze and act upon the situation within the safety of your four-walled, precious and cherished home. In the end, I'd just like to say that during these times, our safety lies in our own hands. We are braver than we believe, stronger than we seem, smarter than we think, and more loved than we will ever know. So stay home, stay safe, and keep fighting. Thank you.
Now, representing Mary Ward House, we have Rabia Gharu.
No one hears the threat that Mother Nature cries. Listen to it before the hushed tone dies. Good morning to the honorable panel of judges, respected teachers, and my dear opponents. Today, I, Rabia Gharu, representing Mary Ward House, is here to speak upon the topic, Nature Speaks in Hushed Tones. Listen before it's too late. Humans are day by day advancing in their lives. For this, all they need is a good architectural thought and raw materials for which they are exploiting this nature. Day by day, nature is trying to warn us. But humans are so busy in this race of advancement and technology that they have forgotten the value of minimalism. In the last 20 years, we have seen a global sea level rise due to global warming. Ice and glaciers are melting and water level is rising. It won't take time for things to submerge underwater. It's important for us to understand this and take care of our precious planet. A recorded amount of California was burning, spurred by nearly a 20-year mega drought to the north parts of Oregon that don't usually catch flames. The world is undergoing the pressure of global pandemic. And humans, despite of so vast and strong technology, are not able to find a solution to it. People complain about the disasters in 2020, but experts predict a worse future. More than 200 natural disasters were recorded in the first half of 2020 around the globe. Isn't it enough for us to understand the warnings of nature? The nature is trying to heal itself. The human race is present in its own home. The nature is expanding, sometimes in beauty and sometimes in rage. It's better for us to understand this and try to heal our own world instead of finding and losing billions for life in Mars. Sustainable development isn't as tough as it seems to be. Cooperating with nature can surely create a space for both humans and itself. In the end, I would like to conclude myself with a short poem. The air is no longer clean, the water is no longer pure. You'll have to change your ways, or you'll have no more. Head in hand she weeps, because no one seems to care about the pain she suffers and the life she sheds. Then in despair, Mother Nature raises her voice. Destruction takes place. Care humans, she screams to us, or you won't be left with a choice. Thank you.
Next, we have Sanya Kaushal, who will represent Ashok House.
An echo drifted on the wind, sang deep and wild and free. Oh, you can be the king of the castle, but I am the lord of the sea. A clear depiction of supremacy of nature against humans is evident in these lines, taken from the poem Lord Neptune, written by Judith Nichols. How I wish nature could really speak these lines to address the most evolved race. Maybe we would have understood. Maybe we would have learned to act wisely. Good morning. My name is Sanya Kaushal, and I have started this talk on an emotional note to address an extremely rational situation that we are facing as a planet. The topic on which I will present my perspective is nature speaks in hushed tone. Listen before it is too late. Nature always tends to act in the simplest way, says the famous mathematician Bernoulli. She has always been kind to us and offered a helping hand while we moved through our evolution journey from the primitive form to what we are today. However, we have forgotten to appreciate the integral role of nature in our lives to fulfill our irrational desires. The Australian fires is a disaster and has caught everybody's attention around the globe. Australia has always experienced bushfires during the fire season, but their intensity this year has been exceptional. The devastation is so severe that some species and ecosystems might never recover. The reasons attributed to these fires is the increase of CO2 levels that are warming the planet. Yes, nature was speaking in hushed tone when regular fires were prevalent in Australia. But it seems nature is screaming on top of a voice through this intensified version. Being tormented for ages, nature gave its final blow to the humans in the form of the recent pandemic, the COVID-19. Our behavior with nature has been juxtaposed with her response. We were the ones to lock up nature, cage the birds, put animals in the zoo. In return, we are the ones locked inside our houses while nature enjoys the show. We have seen animals scratching the doors and windows of some houses. Isn't this a revenge? Meanwhile, nature has got some time to recover from the damages caused by our atrocities, giving us improved quality of atmosphere, cleaner water bodies, and lower levels of pollution. Nature is a giver. That is why we call her Mother Nature. All she asks for is a little bit of care and sensitivity. She has her own ways to remind us of our follies. However, if we still do not take note of those signs and lay relaxed, nature is bound to retaliate ferociously. The question is that why can't we live peacefully with what she offers and take care of her before she reminds us catastrophically? Why do we wait for her to explode? The most evolved and intelligent race should ponder on these whys. We need to be those good children who understand Mother Nature even when she does not speak. Nature was and will always remain supreme. And while she remains patient with us and bestows us with her infinite resources and love, we take a humble bow before her. As in the words of Wendell Berry, to cherish what remains of the earth and to foster its renewal is our only legitimate hope of survival. Here I conclude with a hope that this message spreads faster and farther than the Australian fires. Thank you.
From Amartya House, we have Anvesha Chauhan of class 10th Rose.
If you really think environment is less important than economy, try holding your breath while you count your money. Earth is a fine place and is worth fighting for. Good morning. Today I, Anvesha Chauhan of class 10th Rose, representing Amartya Sen House, am here to speak about climate change is the biggest threat to mankind. Well, it's really hard to know where to start from while talking about climate change as it affects nearly every aspect of life on this planet. Climate change is described as the change in the environmental condition of the earth, mostly due to many internal or external factors. But due to these changes, a number of species of plants and animals have already gone extinct. Climate change is already happening. Temperature is rising. Global sea level is rising. Rainfall patterns are shifting, glaciers and mountain peaks are melting. But what do you think are the main reasons for such climate change? Well, one of the most important reasons is global warming. Scientists attribute that the global warming trend observed since the mid 20th century to human expansion of the greenhouse gas warming, which occurs mostly due to the heat being trapped by the atmosphere, which is radiating from Earth to space. Certain gases in the atmosphere do not let the heat escape. These gases, which are long lived, do not react neither physically nor chemically, are termed as forcing the climate to change. Well, scientists have a high confidence that this temperature will continue to rise in future, mostly due to the greenhouse gases being produced by many human activities. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, a rise of temperature from 2.5 to 10 degree Fahrenheit is likely to be seen in future. Taken as a whole, the IPCC states that the net damage cost of climate change is likely to remain significant and to increase over time. Climate change is real. It is happening right now, right in front of you and me. We as young generation should hold hands, come together, speak up and spread awareness about what climate change is and what its consequences could be. Well, as you all know, if there's a problem, there's a solution too. And therefore, there's a solution for climate change too. These solutions are quite basic and easy. Certain solutions are accept the 4R principle. The 4R principle includes reduce, reuse, recycle, and recover. Say no to plastic bags and carry your own jute bags. Diwali, a festival in which so much of pollution is created, is almost there at our doorsteps. So this Diwali, say no to crackers and enjoy a green Diwali. But if you can't do this, the least you could do is plant a tree. Action against climate change is urgent. The more we delay in it, the more we pay in life and in money. We have to be a part of the solution. And this should be our topmost resolution because we only have one mission to protect and hand on this earth to the next generation exactly how we wished this earth was handed to us by our past generation. In the end, I would just like to say we all want to see the change, but to see this change, we have to be this change by ourselves. The sooner we realize this, the better it is. Thank you.
I now request the judges to send a photograph of the marking sheets to Ma'am Veena on a personal WhatsApp number.